Matthew Stuckey here, and I wanted to make another video giving you a soul-winning tip. And in the last video I talked about the importance of memorizing the soul-winning verses. And the purpose is so you'll have a better idea of how to actually explain those verses. And in this video what I want to talk about is the importance of practicing your soul-winning plan. Now realize that if you've been soul-winning for many years, I understand these early tips are beginner tips. You probably don't have to practice your soul-winning plan if you've been doing it for 10 years. But when you're first beginning, obviously you need to practice it. And the truth is that as we're going soul-winning, you know what, we don't always get opportunities to preach the gospel. So if you're a beginner and you only get a chance every few weeks to preach the gospel, it's going to take you a very long time to become proficient at it. And if that's your choice to just kind of wait until you get opportunities at the door, then that's up to you. But if you want to accelerate and learn very quickly how to be proficient in preaching the gospel, you should take the opportunity to practice in your free time, just like in anything. If you're going to play sports or if you're going to play a musical instrument, you're going to spend time practicing so you're actually ready for the actual performance or the game or the match or whatever. And so you say, well, Brother Stuckey, how do I practice my soul-winning presentation? Well, I want to give you a couple real practical, easy ways that you can practice your soul-winning presentation outside of actually going door to door and preaching the gospel. And I want to just reiterate that this is not meant to be a substitute for going out there and preaching the gospel. By all means, go out there as a silent partner and you can learn. You should be out there as much as possible, especially if you have people that can help train you so you get the experience, because the actual preaching the gospel is going to have even more of an impact. But one way you can practice is with a friend or a family member or a church member. Now, if you have a church member that's proficient in preaching the gospel, then that is a great way to learn very quickly how to actually preach the gospel, because they can give you pointers and they can give you tips, and it can really help you learn very rapidly. Or if you have maybe a fellow friend that you also go to church with, or you have a family member that you go to church with, someone you feel comfortable with, you can start and practice preaching the gospel to them. And I know that me and my friends a long time ago, we would practice preaching the gospel to each other, and we weren't perfect. We had a lot of things we needed to change in our presentations. But the truth is that just practicing with each other, it really helped us be ready for various situations and feel more comfortable. And so a great method that you can do is actually practice with someone else. And then you're going to realize, oh, wait a minute, I forgot to mention this, or I stumbled at this part. You're going to start seeing, the problems that you have. So it's really about being willing to take the time and be willing to humble yourself, because maybe you feel embarrassed if you make mistakes, but that is how we learn. You learn through, guess and check, trial and error. And so one thing is practicing with somebody, a church member or a family member or a friend. Another thing is that you can actually practice by yourself. And you say, well, how can I practice preaching the gospel by myself? Well, there's a couple different ways. One way you could do it is actually practicing in front of a mirror. And the reason why I would recommend practicing in front of a mirror is because it's more realistic than just practicing to yourself, when you're not in front of a mirror. When you're in front of a mirror, you can actually see the interaction of how you're saying things, and you can kind of like play both parts. And I get that this will seem weird or feel weird to you, but the truth is, I actually did this in college, and of course, I did it when my roommate wasn't home, because I thought it would be kind of embarrassing and everything. Nobody wants to talk to themselves, obviously, but at the same time, you're able to get practice by playing both parts. So you'll kind of say the part of the soul winner, and then you'll say the part of the person who is listening to the gospel. Now, of course, practicing with someone is better, but if you don't have that opportunity, or if you want to just do a little bit of extra practice, you can practice by yourself, either in front of the mirror, or you can just sit down on your bed, or just actually stand in front of a bedroom door or something and pretend to be knocking to make it as realistic as possible. And the thing is, when you're practicing preaching the gospel, you don't necessarily have to practice beginning to end. You could just practice like a 5-minute segment of the gospel, how to show someone that they're guilty, how to explain a certain verse, and you can practice it in segments if you want, and that's actually a good method as you learn. Once you become comfortable with one segment, you're actually able to preach that maybe door to door, and then have your soul winning partner take over, and then you can slowly add on to that. And another method you could practice by yourself is actually while you're in the car, while you're driving. And so this is something I've done as well, where I'll practice certain parts, or I've even done that for sermons. I'll kind of like preach certain parts of a sermon that I'm going to preach, or kind of speak it out loud. And it does help for getting practice. And so, of course, the best method is to actually be out there door to door, but this is just something you can do in your free time. And so memorizing the verses is essential, and actually practicing your presentation, because the Bible speaks about the preparation of the gospel, and you want to be as prepared as possible because there's nothing more important. Thank you, and God bless.